If you're one of those people who think, what's the big deal? A year ago, Stephon Diggs was a high school senior who chose Maryland. And just a few months later, he was doing this.
He may be a freshman, but he doesn't play like a freshman.
Not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes.
Stephon Diggs is going to bring it out, and Diggs across the 15 to the 30. He could go. My goodness.
So let's see how Diggs, Terps, and the rest of the Atlantic Division are doing so far. Florida State, number one recruiting class in the division. Clemson is right there. How about Maryland, third, and then NC State, Wake, Syracuse, and Boston College. The Seminoles aren't just number one in the Atlantic. They have the number one class in all the ACC. It could end up with a top 10 class nationally. One of the top FSU recruits is defensive end DeMarcus Walker. Joining me now, the National Recruiting Director for 24/7 Sports, J.C. Shurburtt. J.C., thanks for taking time out. Let's start there talking about DeMarcus Walker. He enrolled early. What does he bring to the Seminoles?
Well, he's just another talented defensive lineman that Jimbo Fisher and company are going to add to that roster. You know, they've recruited quite well at that critical position. I think that when you look at it, you added DeMarcus Walker in, a guy that can slide inside, go outside. He's got exceptional athleticism. That's just another piece to the puzzle. And the fact that he's there early really helps in terms of getting him ready to replace some of those draft picks that they lost.
We talked about Matthew Thomas, showing him choose Florida State. He's a big pickup for Jimbo as well, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, Matthew Thomas, I think, had some things not happened at Miami down the stretch. I do think he probably would have been a Cane, but Florida State had a quiet confidence about him just about the entire process. You know, I think that when you look at all the factors and consider that, you know, even though two of Florida State's best South Florida recruiters, Eddie Gran and James Coley, departed, and they still were able to land Matthew Thomas, I think that's tremendous.
Now, JC, the Seminoles also stole away Jalen Ramsey this week from USC. They got him signed just a little while ago. He could be big for that defense as well, right?
Definitely. And again, you look at the roster, you combine him with a young player like Ronald Darby, and certainly there's a lot of talent in the defensive backfield now at FSU and really on defense, period.
Yeah. Now, Florida State and Clemson dominated the ACC this past season. The Tigers, they're doing everything they can to keep up with the Noles in recruiting. Just in the past hour, Dabo Swinney got a nice present, Mackenzie Alexander.
Oh, yeah. Mackenzie Alexander is one of the top corners in the country. You know, he was kind of one of those guys that was hard to pin down as far as where he was leaning. It was a three-team race, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Clemson. But Clemson's been right there up at the top the whole time. Probably should have projected the Tigers had I been smart, just because I think that that's probably where he always wanted to go. He can step in and start right away at Clemson.
Now, the best Clemson recruit may be linebacker Dorian O'Daniel. Talk about him.
Well, he's just an and get a lot of players, and O'Daniel's one of the tops in the country.
Now, on offense, we know Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins are back, but Andre Ellington is gone. Can recruit Tyshawn Dye step in and fill that void?
Absolutely. Tyshawn was really one of the top backs in the country, just committed early and stuck with it from Elbert County, Georgia. Sort of the same region Clemson got Terry Allen out of way back in the day. Terry was from Banks County. I think that you look at him, he's a bigger back than Ellington, more of a power back, but also has enough speed to make big plays in Chad Morris's offense.
Yeah, it looks like he could thrive in that offense.
Absolutely. You know, he's a guy that he's different, like I said, a different type of back than they have, but certainly has enough going for him to where he can make some things happen within that scheme.
Now, we're getting questions about other teams in the Atlantic Division. The Mighty 07 tweeted me. He wants to know about Maryland. A strange year last year, 4-8. They lost all their quarterbacks, as everyone remembers. I know offensive coordinator Mike Locksley is considered a strong recruiter. Overall, how do you assess the Terps class?
Absolutely. I think in the D.C. area in particular, Locksley's been strong. The guy I really like and look to make an immediate impact is JUCO receiver Dion Long. You can line him up opposite Stephon Diggs. Defenses come into games thinking they have to stop Diggs. Well, now that you have Long on the other side, you know, provided you have somebody to throw him the ball, I think that offense takes on a whole different dimension. Speaking of throwing the ball, quarterback Shane Cockrell, I think, has a bright future at Maryland. 6'1", 205 pounds. Isn't the tallest quarterback, but has a strong arm and is athletic. I expect him to make an impact on that program as well.
Again, we're talking to National Recruiting Director for 24/7 Sports, J.C. Shurburtt. J.C., looks like Maryland's doing a good job. How about the new coaches in the current ACC schools? We have Steve Addazio at Boston College. We also have Dave Dorn at NC State. Break down those two recruiting classes for me.
Well, Boston College, they went there and got a late start, but the thing about it is Addazio can develop and evaluate talent. I really like the quarterbacks they have in this class. McKay Lowry from right there in Massachusetts, I think, is going to be a player. He's a good athlete, has a strong arm. I saw him in New York at a combine back in April, and I think he'll do a fantastic job there. Dave Doran, again, tapped into some of his old roots, getting some players out of the state of Michigan. Also, Jonathan Alston, the linebacker receiver from Bunn, North Carolina, is a key recruit because he's so versatile. He can play linebacker, receiver, whatever you want him to play. So good first effort, but I would encourage people to judge those guys after their first full cycle.